I was 5 and he was 6. We rode on horses made of sticks. He wore black and I wore white. He would always win the fight. Bang, bang, I shot my down. Bang, bang, we rode on, I hit the ground. Made of sticks. Bang, bang, he wore black and I was white. Bang, he would always win the fight. Bang, bang, baby shot me down. Bang, bang, we rode on, I hit the ground. Bang, bang, he wore black and I was white. Bang, bang, always win the fight. Seasons came and changed the time. When I grew up, I called him mine. He would always laugh and say, remember when we used to play? Seasons came and changed the time. I shot you down, bang, bang. You hit the ground, bang, bang. That awful sound, bang, bang. I used to shoot you down. Music played and people sang. Just for me, the church bells rang. Now he's gone, I don't know why. And till this day, sometimes I cry. He didn't even say goodbye. He didn't take the time to lie. Bang, bang, he shut me down. Bang, bang, I hit the ground. Bang, bang, that awful sound. Bang, bang, my baby shot me down.
Howdy. Okay, you have no audio. There's no audio.
Am I good now? Yeah, there we go. All right, so what's up, guys? Skyless and I are here, bringing you guys episode number 17 of Frag Logic. Today we're going to be bringing you guys another fun-filled event. We have Rackzilla from Epic Games Studio. He's the community manager. He'll be on the second half of the show. He's actually going to text me when he will be available so we can get him in here. And Skyless and I will also be discussing the Xbox One reveal event, which we have right now as the current topic. If you guys didn't watch, happen to tune in, they had it at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That right, Colin?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, it was earlier today, and we got to see what the new Xbox looks like. And obviously we had some predictions going into it. I don't know if Colin pulled up all of them, but we did have quite a bit that we're going to discuss, as well as all of the features that they have. So this show actually started half an hour early. For those of you guys new to the show, we do this every day at 9 p.m. Eastern, so we're half an hour early just because we want to try to get as much information in this show as possible, give our thoughts on it, and then we have on Rackzilla as well. So Colin, why don't we go ahead and start with the specs. Can you actually paste that in the chat? Because if I switch, it's going to cause me to drop out of there.
And this is just the Engadget comparison between Xbox 360, and the 720. Or
Yeah.
PS4, sorry. There is no 720. It's not a thing. Alright, it's in chat. So last week you said that the specs would probably be real similar to the PlayStation. I agreed. And the end specs are almost identical to the PlayStation.
Yeah.
The processor and GPU, it doesn't say it on the comparison there, but they were developed by AMD. They actually helped make the all-in-one chip, which is used by the Xbox One. So in the end, 8 gigabytes of memory, 500 gigabytes of storage. There's no announcement on the PlayStation yet. Blu-ray, USB 3.0. That was one of our predictions last week.
Yep.
That held up. The only real question mark for me is the HDMI in and out. 1080p and 4K support, but they don't list component or composite at all as options.
Right.
So I'm kind of curious what that means.
I don't know. That's probably a big question mark for me as well. The other one, and can you actually paste the whole thing in our chat too from the specs?
Yeah.
But the other thing from that was the idea of that the controller is wireless, right? Like, what? I mean, you had your speculation on what that actually meant. That's not actually included, I don't think, in the specs. But
yeah, I'm not really sure what the purpose of the Wi-Fi on the controller is.
I know you had mentioned like the possibility of streaming music, which actually kind of makes sense. Maybe if you like have your mic hooked up and you hit like, or you say music, and then it goes to music, and you're like, play such and such, and then you get up and walk away, and you can hear the sound in your mic headset. Maybe, but I don't actually know why they would have that. Really interesting there. I think the other thing that's absolutely huge, at least down in the future, it's going to be a reality for us really soon. You know, we were kind of laughing about it before the show started, is that 4K support, which is, for those of you guys that don't know, I want to say that the bandwidth on this is like you need at least 25 down, 25 up to get it running. Not gigs, megs, is that right?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so anyway, 4K support is like the new resolution rate for the next generation of TVs and things of that nature that'll be hitting the scene, I guess, within the next, I'm going to say 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, the resolution is 3840 by 2160 is the actual resolution, which is roughly 4 times as much as 1080p.
Exactly. So in order to stream that type of bandwidth, you need a connection that can handle it. And so I'd say I'm gonna go out on a whim and say 95% of the U.S. bandwidth users can't use 4K right now. I'd say that's probably pretty accurate.
Yeah.
So the fact that they have that in there, they're really thinking long term. The cities that kind of have Google Fiber, Verizon, Fios, any internet connection that can handle this type of bandwidth will be able to utilize 4K.
The big thing is displays that support it are fucking expensive right now. On top of the fact that games need to actually leverage it for it to be useful.
By the way, today's show...
We're probably like 5 or 6 years out at least.
Today's show I have a wine. You can't see me because I have my camera turned off on this one, but I have some wine today. People wanted me to do some our beer, but I was like, you know, today's a sophisticated show. Let me bring out my wine glass.
Class up for our guest today.
Classy.
Just make me look like the lowly commoner with the beer.
That was not my intention. We just went out and bought some wine, and we got glasses, so I had to use them. Anyway, so I think that's pretty much it for the specs. I mean, I don't really want to talk about the Kinect camera. I guess we can a little bit. 250 pixel infrared, high definition, looking at your face. I honestly, I don't care about the Kinect.
I read 60 FPS for Skype as well.
Yeah, I mean that's
pretty nice.
The only thing I'm going to use it for is Skype and I take that back. The Skype and possibly being able to stream, which we haven't heard diddly squat about streaming services.
Yeah, I was really expecting an announcement for Twitch support. They did a lot of stuff with Twitch this week. Major Nelson did his stream on Twitch at the end of the show, and then they did like a bonus panel and stuff as well on Twitch. And they even, like, in the announcement said that this would be only available on Twitch, which of course is funny considering that it probably got re-uploaded to YouTube, maybe even Ustream at some point.
Yeah.
So I really thought with them pushing it that was going to be something they were going to focus on. They didn't even... I think they gave the DVR functionality all of like 4 seconds in the show. They're like, oh, and we have DVR functionality for games.
Right.
And then there was like a shot in the back screen. They didn't even go full screen with it, so I couldn't see any details of how that was set up. So for me, that's actually kind of a killer feature. It's really important in terms of if I want to buy the console or not.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm hoping we hear more information about it at E3. But to be honest with you, they kind of just divulged all of their features. Not all, but a lot of their features. If you look online, like everyone has every single aspect of at least all they can squeeze out of Microsoft post that event. Plus, you know, Major Nelson did his basically architecture and talking about the system itself event on Twitch. So it's like, it doesn't sound like that's going to be a possibility. So
it's possible they group it in with their game-oriented stuff more so, and they didn't want to show it off for the event. I think
that could be a valid point.
Like, one of the criticisms for Sony's conference was that the streaming and interactive stuff is cool and all, but it really only impacts a small segment of the community, is what most people say. So there's kind of that aspect where if they'd shown it, then it would have been just for the hardcore gamer sect. And they weren't really going after the hardcore gamers of this presentation at all. It was more, as you said a few weeks ago, it's more of a whole all-in-one entertainment center.
Yeah, which completely blew me away that they were actually going to do that.
Yeah, they really pushed the interaction with cable through TV and the social stuff they're adding to cable. I guess is really all they're doing, is they're just kind of adding features on top, and as well as multitask support, obviously, with the snapping of windows in order to pull in other stuff.
Right.
It's essentially like watching TV on your computer with a fancy interface system.
Which is very funny because all the jokes on Twitter were, oh, so basically it's a PC. So it's like, I mean, yeah, the interface is there, but for the vast majority of players that can't afford or do not want to purchase the PC, that's essentially what it's there for. But you were exactly spot on. Like, a lot of that, I was like, yeah, I can do that on my PC. I'm not overly impressed, but it's still cool.
Yeah, for me, it's hard to get excited about it because I don't have cable. I actually haven't had cable for...
We haven't had cable since
like
2000.
6-7 years?
No, because Danny had it. 2008.
Oh, yeah. I never used it, really.
Well, we had it, though, because we watched football
but we had
a
it.
bit.
So 2008, so that's 5 years. I haven't had cable. I haven't even had a TV for a while now. I just have my monitors. So I just watch everything online. And all those features they showed are going to rely connecting through your cable. So it's... And I have a quote in here, like, not a quote, but an article that says the more people are doing this every year, they're actually at 5 million, I think, was the highest I've seen, the most recent total.
Of the number of people that are ditching cable?
Yeah, 5 million people have cut their cords and aren't using cable or using stuff like Netflix for programming and Hulu Plus and that kind of stuff.
Right.
So it's kind of an increasing thing, and cable has been slowly dying out. It's going to take a long time, obviously. But
well, the one thing that cable has...
It's kind of savvy in order to connect it to your Xbox anyways.
Yeah, yeah. The one thing that cable has going for it is sports, which was the thing that, you know, I was tweeting about it, and you kind of mentioned it a couple times. I guess the real cliffhanger here is, are we going to be able to watch sports on through the system, or do we have to go through a subscription service like Comcast? I think that they actually mentioned Comcast on that presentation, or Time Warner, or somebody else that provides cable. That is the big hang up for me, because if they work with the NFL Network, for example, that's basically all I need. Like, the only thing I'm missing, because I'm like Colin, guys, is I don't go with cable. I ditch that. It's a expense that I don't want to waste any money on, because I mean, honestly, there's not too many shows that I watch live that I can't already, through unscrupulous terms, watch live anyway, if I didn't want to. But the thing about it is, it's like I'm missing out on sports, which is, I'm a big sports guy. I like watching football. A lot of the times when I'm going out to watch games, I have to go to like a TGI Fridays, or here in Austin we have like what is the name of, why can't I think of the name of the place? Chicken
The Wild Wings?
No, not B-Dubs. It's our place.
Oh, Pluckers.
Pluckers, there we go. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. Pluckers, different places like that where, you know, I sit down with a bunch of friends and we watch the game. Like, that is the only time where I'm like, okay, I really need cable because I have to go watch this game. And obviously things like the Super Bowl and whatnot. But I'm just hoping that it's not through a cable provider. They made it seem like it wasn't, you know? Like the whole like,
I can almost guarantee you that it's not going to be without having a cable subscription.
That, you know what?
If they had that, then they definitely would have come up with it in this conversation. They would have said, we partner with NFL so we can have their NFL season ticket through Xbox. Like, that would have been the selling point, and it would have sold a lot of consoles. But there's huge multi-million-dollar contracts that would keep that from ever happening.
That's a good point.
With CBS, with NBC, with ESPN, and so on and so forth. So it's going to be through the networks. I imagine you have to, like, I think currently there's actually apps for some of those cable companies where you can hook up and have some access.
The only thing about that is
where you have to plug in your information. Usually your account information is what they use to gate it.
We are talking about Microsoft money, so it's not like it's not out of the scope.
They would have announced it though. Like, that's a huge selling point. And they wouldn't like add that later on at E3. That's something they would have come out with when they were talking about NFL.
You don't think they would get closer to the season, which is right around the corner, and announce it as part of the season? You don't think so?
No.
All right. Fair enough. What is next on that list? Again, I can't go back to the screen, so you have to like paste each topic in there. What I have to? Do you want me to just deviate from your screen? You're going to be a box.
Fine. You just have to get a second monitor. That's all.
Yeah, that's true. I do have 2 monitors. I just don't have it hooked up.
Pre-owned.
Pre-owned?
Talk about pre-owned. That's probably the biggest
deterrent.
Sticky topic, which I've heard, and a lot of people pretty upset about.
Did you post the quotes in there?
I'm posting them now.
Okay. All right. So for those of you guys that don't know, I think this is, and you know, this is really to kind of maximize. I can't fault Microsoft or even the studios for wanting this to be something. They just cut down on piracy, cut down on people slashing into our sales. But as consumers, we're always going to find the savviest deal. How can we get this at the lowest price? Whatever. Some people go as far as pirating games and all that stuff. And so the pre-owned thing that they're doing, I'm going to read this quote.
It's a bit murky as to how it actually works.
Yeah, I mean, they have a couple things that just don't make sense. But the pre-owned fee. So individual games, this is a quote, individual games will be tied to Xbox Live accounts, Microsoft said, meaning that the software giant can detect whether a game has been sold to a retailer and repurchased or handed from one friend to another. In such instances, the second user must pay a fee. So I guess the thing that you and I kind of talked about was, and these are all like edge case scenarios, but I'm going to use my personal example. You have the same scenario with your brother back at home. I grew up in a household where all of us couldn't always get both games. So sometimes my brother and I would sign on to our individual accounts or whatever. I don't think we even had accounts back then. It was like I had my username, he had his username, and we would load our game and play from our save or whatever. And if one of us interrupted that process, like I was playing on my brother's account, which I did on Zelda sometimes, or he was playing on mine, which he did for Madden sometimes, I would be furious. So what they're saying with this is that if you have an Xbox Live account tied to your specific game, right? So let's say, I'm going to use Madden for this example. You have your Madden season, and your brother wants to play Madden 2. You pop it into your Xbox, Your brother, you don't want your brother playing on your account, so he signs into his account. As soon as it triggers on his account, he has to repurchase the game that you bought for your family. That's pretty much what they've said with this. And so I'm kind of taken aback, and I think there's another quote in here said that from Kotaku. When asked by Kotaku whether the secondhand owner will be paying the same price as the original buyer or paying less, Harrison responded, "Let's assume it's a new game, so the answer is yes, it will be the same price." What the fuck? Is that serious? We know there is some confusion around used games.
Indefinite that answer is. That's like, it's not a very, like, let's assume it's a new game.
Let's assume it's a new game.
Yes, like, it sounds like their policy for this might not be entirely fleshed out yet.
Right? I mean, either way, it's murky territory that they're entering. Especially given the scenarios of, for our example, I know what they're trying to avoid. They don't want the pirates and the people abusing the used game system and the GameStops and all that stuff to hit the pavement and just take off with this console. So they're trying to figure out ways to maximize their profits. That makes sense from a business standpoint. But at the same time, you are going to make some enemies with the people that won't know that this is going to be occurring. My mom, for example, wouldn't have known that if she had bought one for both of us, that she's going to end up paying. It's going to hit her credit card because it's on our account. As soon as my brother logs in, she's going to be like, why do I have 2 charges for this game I only paid once for? Oh, you got to take that shit back. That's something my mom would say.
Or it's going to be this kind of, yeah, and then you can't do anything.
Right. So,
yeah, how does that work with returns? If I've claimed the game on my system, and then I return it, then there's nothing they can do.
Absolutely nothing.
Like, if I just return it, and then, what, they can't sell it again, because then the person has to pay a second fee on top of buying the game.
I have no idea.
Like, there's like a lot of huge question marks on how the system will work. And it just doesn't really make sense. Obviously, what they're trying to do is just kind of similar to how PCs have had it, where you just punch in a CD code, I guess. But
why don't they?
In those cases, you can still play the game. It's just they were denying online features in those cases.
In which case, listen, if they're going to implement this, why even sell CDs at this point? Like, just sell your games from Xbox Live Marketplace and be done with it. Like, that is the obvious solution.
In which case, you have parents not able to figure out what to buy at Christmas. Like, I have no idea what they're doing. Like, I can't even guess. Because if you just think about it, like, the more you think about it, the more you scratch your head in terms of how it would work from a retail standpoint. Like, the more you think about it, the worse it gets. I just don't get it.
I'm really lost. Really lost on
buying
this.
my games and returning them to games.
And I see
to Walmart.
Manasher saying PS4 isn't doing this, and that's a huge plus for Sony right now, is that they don't have this dumbass system in place with the pre-owned fee. Like I said, I'm really baffled that Microsoft would choose this route, considering Sony didn't. It's very obvious that Microsoft, given how Microsoft loves money, I'm not saying that Sony doesn't, but they're trying to figure out the best way they can maximize this. So, I don't know. What implication this is? I see some people here renting games, buying used games, services like GameFly, Redbox.
Yep, GameFly, Returns, Netflix, or not Netflix, Redbox, what I was trying to say. Like, all those services get completely gutted. Doing returns, only retailers can accept returns anymore.
I don't know. That's
GameStop obviously gets a huge hit.
Huge. Like, I have no idea what they are going to do to solve this problem. So, we might see some retailers belly up. It's completely possible.
Also sucks for the small mom and pop type shops.
Yep, definitely. I will say that Major Nelson tried to chime in after Harrison said that quote and said, another piece of clarification around playing games at a friend's house. Should you? Oh, hold on. Let me emphasize this in the way I did. Should you choose to play your game at your friend's house, there is no fee to play that game while you are signed into your profile. But if you switch, that obviously that's not in there. But if you switch to your friend's profile, there's a fee. It's worded very meticulously, very carefully.
Very implied.
Sounds very shady.
Yeah. Like I said, it sounds like they might not even have the policy completely ironed out, which would explain the backpedaling.
Right.
Maybe they were intentionally trying to kind of let that out there and see what the reaction was, so they can deny it later on. I don't know. It sounds really shady. It's kind of weird because, like, I understand where they're coming from. Like, the CD key system on PCs, where it was, I think, one of the most successful forms of DRM in the sense you couldn't really play multiplayer unless you had cracked games or whatever, because you had to. That key was used to authenticate online.
Right.
So I can see that, and then Steam obviously has been super successful in curbing piracy on their platform because you just download and then it's all tied to your account.
Right.
But Steam obviously doesn't have a retailer front, which I think is the big issue here. It's really all the retail end of stuff and the physical disc. If they were to go just online, then I don't think anyone would even blink an eye at the fact that you couldn't sell your games anymore.
Right.
I think people might accept that more willingly than they would that I have this disc and it's essentially worth nothing.
I just bought nothing.
Yeah, and if I don't like the game, then I'm screwed because I can't even get any money back on it. I can't sell it to anyone.
So, like I said, I think GameStop is probably going to have to rewrite their policy for trade-ins, because if you buy a game, like, they're going to basically, based off of what Harrison said, they're going to be paying full price for a used game, and you're like, this is used. And it's like, well, I'm sorry that, you know, Microsoft has such and such policy now, so whatever. I don't know. Real questionable. What is the next hot topic that I think you just put it in here?
Xbox requires to have 24-hour sign-in. Is that what that's supposed to be?
Yeah. Okay. So
I didn't actually see this one, so this is all you.
This is something that I saw posted on The Verge. So they have Xbox is required to have a 24-hour sign-in period. So I guess once a day you're basically going to have to sign in your Xbox. So I think. And the reason
on that? I'm just curious.
It was The Verge.
Did they give us? I mean, did they give a source?
I can't remember if there was a source in there on that.
I'm curious. That sounds really surprising.
Right. I think they quoted one of the Microsoft people as saying that. You can check The Verge. I think it was there that was quoted from.
I'll see if I can find it. Just keep going.
But anyway, so I think where this is kind of interesting for, at least from our standpoint as being competitive gamers, is that having to have a constant internet connection once a day for a live event could potentially thwart the LAN scene. Potentially. You know, I don't know what all this necessarily means. I don't know if you need this for cable purposes or for some type of content purposes that they're not talking about other than games. But having to always have your Xbox connected to the internet for 24-hour sign-in purposes sounds, I don't know, kind of out there. So, again, this is quoted on The Verge, I think is where that link is from. If not, Colin, I saw it on one of the links I had open up, and it was just as another article underneath that. So, have you found it yet?
No.
Okay. Arctic ZYM with a crispy lineup. Yes, I went to Floyd's. Colin, have you gone there? Completely off topic while Colin was looking for this. Floyd's is a chain barbershop here in Austin. It has like a hipster almost vibe. If you guys are from Texas or in the Austin area, you guys know what I'm talking about. But I go in there, and for those of you guys that don't know, I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there because this is, I guess, this is kind of cultural. It's kind of cultural. Finding an African-American black barbershop in a city is pretty important, right? And in the area that I'm located, there's hardly any. So for me to personally find a barbershop that can cut my hair and know what they're doing is pretty important. So I go to this place because it's highly recommended. The guy I get is, his name is Ryan, and he does a pretty good job on my hair and whatnot. And so I come out because I told him exactly what I wanted, although I won't say he messed up because it was pretty close to exactly what I wanted, but he made it look like a fade almost, but I got a taper. And so when Christy saw my haircut, because I was actually growing out my hair a little bit, And so she sees my haircut and she's like, why are the sides of your head bald? And I was like, well, he tapered it to the skin because I started higher on the taper. And so I was like, right now it kind of looks like a fade. And she's like, it looks like you have a mohawk. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I can tell you don't like it. So yeah, it is what it is. I really like the. I'm gonna go back to him probably in a couple weeks and get like a very traditional haircut instead of going all the way. But they put a hot towel around your head. They took the shave cream lineup. So they took an actual razor and lined up my my front lineup and the back. So it was really good. I enjoy. And on top of that, they got a.
Whenever you're done, I got a link.
Hold on, they got a back massage. So that was no extra charge, just included. He's like, he pulls out this back massager. It's like this little thing. At first, I thought he was gonna grip me, and he's like a muscular, huge dude, and I'm like, that's kind of. I don't know if I'm feeling that dude, but he grabs this massager and gives me like a quick, like 2-minute massage with this thing. It felt pretty good. So while I filled you in on something that happened this week, you got that link. Kotaku is the original source?
I hate Kotaku, and I hate using them as the source here, but it seems like that is the source here. So the clarification they gave originally was, no, it doesn't always have to be connected, but Xbox One does require a connection to the internet. And then Kotaku asked, if I'm playing a single-player game, do I have to be online at least once per hour or something like that? Or can I go weeks and weeks? Harrison said, I believe it's 24 hours. Kotaku said, I have to connect online once every day. Harrison said, correct.
Huh. So there is the exact answer to that.
Yeah.
It's not always online, but requires internet. Thank you, Legacy. That's again, these are some faulty things. These are some things that are really questionable.
Get that mouse off my face.
Can you see that?
They can see it. Just rub my face with your mouse.
It was right on your nose. I was tickling it.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it doesn't sound like what they said. What would happen? I assume you just wouldn't be able to play single player stuff anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that means. If you want to play a single player game, if I go on a trip and I have no internet connection, which has happened in the past, specifically for traveling, but and I want to play or practice in a LAN setting, am I going to be able to do that? I don't know.
Well, actually,
again, this is something
right
that
there into the LAN thing, because there's a good chance that LANs as we know it, System Link as we know it, is probably done. Just from what I read. So they announced that all games are going to have dedicated servers, so we can all throw our hands up and say, yay! That's the bright
yay!
side.
I thought you were going to go a little bit longer.
Okay, sorry. Yay! We keep going before I get all negative.
Hey! Dedicated servers!
So what they said is it's all dedicated, which means they can do higher player counts. We can do 32, 64. I think they even used 128 as an example of how many players they could have. So there's that. But developers are probably going to start developing around that, since obviously their games aren't going to use peer-to-peer servers.
Yeah.
And obviously System Link was implemented in a lot of games because it was real simple, because it's essentially the same as having a multiplayer match in that a player hosts, everyone connects to them, and then you play. So now, in order for games to have System Link, it's going to be its own thing. And that's in addition to the fact that obviously the console may need to be online pretty repetitively.
Yeah.
And then also the fact that you can't use the same disc multiple times. They'll be tied to the consoles. So I mean, you'd have to like sign into one profile. Like, it'd be a nightmare to set up.
It'd be yeah. Can you imagine MLG? Like, MLG already had their hands full when they started getting like title updates for. I'm going to give an example. Gears of War 2, when they had to have an always online Xbox One being the host. This is what Epic ended up clarifying later, in order to get the title update for it to all work on LAN. And if anyone has been to one of those events, the production, the setup, the cost for that to have internet to all of these systems is just unrealistic. It's not realistic to have
generally
that.
a pain in the ass.
It's a pain in the ass, and it's unrealistic. So
now, if you're looking at a LAN event for the Xbox One, all they've showed is a wireless controller that uses Wi-Fi.
dumb.
B, the discs are going to be tied to the consoles, or actually specifically probably to the account that's on the console. So you have to log into that exact system, that one account on that box, and that'll be what everyone has to play with that sits there. And then on top of that, you have the fact that developers probably won't be developing for System Link.
Right. And I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing, because the infrastructure for PC will be very similar, and that, well, I won't say very similar, because not all PC games are going to have dedicated servers, but the fact that, okay, on Steam, if I want to push a Steam game, it's always going to be pretty much online. So what I have to do for the netcode maybe is not as intense as it would be the other way. You know what I'm saying? So like, that could be beneficial for developers, but man, the competitive side could really suffer from this, which will be interesting to see how they do Call of Duty.
Legitimate. Like online stuff will be 10 times more legitimate because it's gonna be all dedicated. It's all the way across the board.
So maybe we'll see a decline of MLG LAN events. Which maybe, what are they doing this year? 5?
I think so.
5? So maybe that number goes down to 3, and then
or
we
they
see.
just all hop onto the PlayStation 4 and don't have to deal with the issues.
Which would be very different, considering.
I don't know. Like it's really hard to say because I feel like.
Or they just continue with their PC ness.
Yeah, CP-ness.
So I don't know. That's a big question mark right now for me. Is when I saw that and I was like, I read that and immediately thought, man, that could be really bad for MLG and traveling to LANs or LAN centers in general. Like imagine eBash right now.
Yeah, that'd be a mess.
Like
you
what
can't
is
do anything? You can't lease out a disc.
like the owner of Zach is a really good friend of mine, and it's like.
Zach. Yeah.
What did I say? The owner of Zach.
The owner of Zach.
The owner of eBash, Zach Johnson, is a really good friend of mine, and so how they're going to work around this issue. I mean, they do have their accounts. All of them are Xbox Live enabled, but it's like they
force people to play on them, though.
Right, you have to force people to play on people's account unless those players actually have their own game, separate game, owned on that account. So when they download it, they're like, oh, you already have this purchased. You can play. LAN centers, man. Different. They might have to rethink that model.
I don't know, like, the console in general seems like it's going to completely fuck up a lot of shit.
Or maybe Zach will go all...
in the core gaming space.
He might go all PS4.
Yeah.
That's a very good possibility. Alright, so... I think the next thing I have on this is not backwards compatible.
Yep, which was kind of expected.
Yeah, I can't say it's a surprise.
PlayStation 4 is the same. Not backwards compatible. From what I read, the architecture they use, the x86, is that right?
Yeah.
So the x86 architecture, which is similar to how PCs are set up, is drastically different than how they did it before, especially on the PlayStation, to a point where the backwards compatibility just doesn't make sense. So, not that surprising, I don't think.
I think what we will see is basically what happened with the Xbox 360. So we'll see like all of the old titles, or I won't say old titles. Some of the popular older Xbox 360 titles appear on the Xbox Live Arcade as downloadable titles or whatever, and you'll be able to play that way.
Remastered.
Here's an interesting thing. Will those re-downloads, if you try to play online, will they play on dedicated servers or peer-to-peer?
Probably won't work at all.
You don't think online would work?
Probably peer-to-peer. I imagine that would be pretty simple.
You imagine? I don't know. That
I'm
sounds.
not sure though. It depends on how it hooks up to their servers. Because all this stuff went through the old like matchmaking servers. And if they're changing that stuff around, I'm not sure.
That's a really good question. That's a really good question. So I think.
We can go ahead and segue into the fact they have a whole new matchmaking system.
Whole new matchmaking system. You can go into that because I don't have that one on this list.
Yeah. You get the fuck. Now I closed everything because I was trying to find that article with The Verge.
Baha. Should I fill everyone in on what else I did this weekend while you're looking?
Your haircut before last?
My haircut before last was 6 weeks before the last one.
There we go. Smart Match was the
Smart
word I
Match.
was looking for. So that's their new matchmaking system, which is supposed to be the replacement for True Skill. But it wasn't really that clear as to what exactly it's doing that True Skill didn't do. They said there's a bunch of complex algorithms that determine matches. They'll post a time for how long until your next match, which is pretty standard stuff in the PC gaming industry, at least giving an estimate of how long it'll take. And they even said it would like match you up while you're doing other things, which I thought was pretty funny. It was like, we'll match you up for a game while you're watching a movie. Like, why would I need that ever?
Dude, I'm gonna be watching The Price
I'm
is
just
Right.
watching a movie and the movie's about to end. And I'm like, find me a match. I don't want to waste 1 second after this movie is done. Get ready to pop right into a match.
Well, here's the thing. Now here's something legitimate that I'm going to give you guys something that might be something useful for this feature to be waiting for a match. Let's hypothetically say you're in practice for a scrimmage. You're with your team. You can pull up a YouTube app, which hasn't been confirmed. You pull up a YouTube app, and you happen to have some matches against the team that you're about to scrimmage, or just some plays that you guys want to go over in general before you kind of go into your match. Here's where this stuff gets compelling, and this is something that I would utilize for our team. We're about to go into a match. I'm like, hey guys, let's pull up this strat. Let's listen to it real quick. Kind of talk about it. Everybody's like, Xbox, YouTube, Gears of War, amazing match, or whatever, strategy, insane strategy. And so we all pull it up, we're watching it, and we're like, yeah, okay. And then we're talking about it. Our match goes into play. Everyone has fresh in their mind that strategy that we need to run, what goes on, and whatever. So that's possibly something that could be really compelling with that. And that's how I think about features like that in terms of I'm waiting, because we do that stuff on Smite. Like I'm on Smite, I'm sitting there searching. I haven't played Smite in a while, but I'm on Smite. I'm searching. I'm like, let me get on. I want to see a build for Freya. So while I'm on my PC, I'm typing in Freya build. So I hop on. I see that. I'm like, okay. We're waiting for our match. We're kind of talking about things. Then we go back to the match because it pops up and says, hey, your match is ready. So I click on the little pop-up. I'm taking it to my match. Well, already I have fresh in my mind what build I need for Freya. So that's the type of, I guess, high level thinking I think about with apps like this. So stop doing flips.
They keep fucking tweeting me every time someone tweets at me.
Oh man! See, now what's gonna happen is because you said it, you're gonna get more tweets. Here, I'm just gonna go ahead and you guys want to see Skyless flip all day? Go ahead. This is the. If you guys remember, I think it was last week we talked about the get Skyless a keyboard fund. So here's @Skyzen, so you guys can tweet him all day. Just tweet him nonstop throughout the show to see him flip up and down. So that forces him to get a webcam, or you guys can just donate one to me, and I will put it in there for him.
Just enjoy watching me flip over and over.
Someone says put the techno music to it. Who is that? Rising Zero. Okay, so anyway, that is what I think is really compelling. Colin, would you not say that could be something that you would see us possibly using?
Yeah, actually,
in terms of that
in general, like I could think of quite a few different ways that you could utilize that, because it looks like you can just have it up while you play. So, for example, you might just have like a list of plays or calls, or maybe even, I'm not sure how it would work, but you might be able to do timers for fucking out flipping over and over. You might be able to just do timers, or if you were streaming, if they have a stream function, you could have your Twitch chat up in the corner on the side of your screen, streaming that as well. So I mean, like, you'd be able to do some pretty cool overlay stuff, I think, with it, as well as maybe even team branding. Like we might be able to put sponsors or anything like that, in the sense that it'd be kind of like having an overlay on your computer, but you could do it all in one.
You're like
make it look pretty nice.
You're like a Ninja Turtle right now. You're like Donatello.
No one can take me serious like that, right?
I know. So yeah, this camera is wall bouncing. You're doing the crab flip.
Oh my god!
You remember that Gears 1, the crab flip?
Yeah.
Oh man, You guys have totally taken out the seriousness in the show now.
Just completely derailed everything.
It's really funny. I shouldn't have tweeted, or I shouldn't have posted in chat.
You shouldn't have. That was messed
But it was
up.
funny though. I couldn't help myself. All right, that's just going crazy. All right, so second portion is not designed for second portion. Next topic, not designed with high-end graphics in mind. That's according to Greg Williams, who is the GM. That's the general manager of Silicon Development at Microsoft.
Before you continue, I just want to say Microsoft really needs to talk to their employees about comments after release.
Oh man!
Especially like it seems like maybe a dozen or so comments went out, which could be perceived negatively.
Here's the wine that we're tasting.
Obviously,
today.
this makes sense. Like the comment on its own is that they didn't target high-end graphics. They wanted to be more obviously economic. You need to make it cost $400 or $500 or less. But also, it wasn't really their point. Like, they didn't want to make like a super high-end PC, so it goes without saying. But obviously, they just put it's the easiest quote to put it as a headline on a news article.
Right. So
Xbox One does not target high-end graphics. They don't care about graphics.
I feel like the media was so hype around propagating and pushing out all these rumors and stuff. It was like as soon as they could get Microsoft employees to talk about it, they were like already there, like microphone in face, like we're going to talk about this, you're going to give us something, and people were just slipping up left and right. And just as a side note, Sony's stock went up 10 points or 10%, something like that.
10 coins?
No, I said 10
points.
10 points or 10
I thought they were
percent.
moving away from Microsoft.
I can't remember that. So this is after their event that Sony's stock went up. So it was like people were like, "Fuck,
That's
Microsoft."
because of Blu-ray though, because they confirmed they're using Blu-ray.
Yeah, okay, I could see that. Yeah, that's a good reason.
I
But
had to fix the flip thing.
nope. Would you disable Twitter?
No, I just flipped the phone. But it doesn't stand up as well that way, so it might fall over.
You just need a wet. All right, so I don't know if the high-end graphics is necessarily that important because we have games like Minecraft now, but it's definitely something that I think should be brought to everyone's attention. What is the next thing on the list?
Hey, Rex and Chad, if you want to get his,
Did he send me a text?
or just whatever, so we can send him a link.
He did. Okay.
Okay.
He says ready to roll.
I think we're just about wrapping up.
We're just about
the
wrapping.
controller.
Good.
I mean, we kind of talked about it a little bit. The one thing which I wanted to hit on was
You talk about it because I'm biased right now. Just talk about it.
I mean, the controller looks pretty similar on the whole. Like, everything's in the same place. The kind of weird things were the battery compartment on the back is kind of like wide and pressed against the controller.
Yeah.
It's supposed to like be more in than the current one, which is obviously the current one's just way out. Personally, as someone who has pretty big hands, I hold the controller with 2 fingers on top. It looks like there's not much room to kind of grip back there in the terms of it curving around.
The controller seems pretty small.
You think so?
I
imagine it's almost identical to the
the
current.
controller, Colin, seems pretty small.
Okay. The big thing, which I was going to point out, was that they're using impulse triggers, which I actually had to look it up to see what they were talking about here. And someone who had a hands-on said that impulse is basically vibration, so it's kind of force feedback for the triggers.
Right.
And he said, like, the example they gave was he's holding the controller and like a helicopter raises up into the air, and he could feel the trigger shaking as the helicopter was going up. It just seems like that would drive me insane.
Well,
when it turns off vibration.
We already turned it off. Yeah, I was just about to say that. We already turned it off.
A lot of competitive guys remove the rumble packs from their controllers entirely, make it lighter. So the trigger's gonna shake, and it's got to make it feel more stiff too than the current gen.
It's immersive, man.
I don't know. I'm gonna be turning that shit off right away. and yeah, it messes with your aim really big, as Clutch Chris has a chat. Like, that'd drive me nuts. Like, the controller shaking messes with my aim, but the trigger shook? That'd be insane.
Yeah, I mean, I already know. Like, if that's what the feature does, I'm turning that off immediately.
That said, they did a breakaway with the controller where like all the parts come off in the in the like video.
Video.
Did.
Yeah.
And it like you can see like all the parts pulled out individually. Just looking at it, obviously I wrote a couple articles about the Xbox controller and how shitty it was, the Xbox 360 controller. Like if you actually open it and look at the parts, it's super cheap. It's just like it's what you would expect from like knockoff Chinese factory type thing.
However, the ergonomic design of that is unparalleled.
Yeah, the ergonomics is good, but the build quality is horrendous.
Yeah.
But looking at the Breakaway, it looks like it's a lot better. It looks a lot sturdier. There's actually like brace type pieces in there specifically to make it sturdy. So it looks like they really emphasized that. They even there's an article in I think it's Polygon. I read it. They were talking about they got to do a tour of their facilities they use for testing the controllers, and they gave examples of like stress testing the wireless aspect, similar to how they test phones. And then they said that they actually have a robot sitting there pushing the buttons on the controller 2 million times each in order to
2 million?
2 million.
So
the funny thing is, not just that, but then they also register any mispresses, obviously. Then they also have a high-speed camera sitting there recording at some ridiculous frame rate so they can see what happened on that individual button press.
What? So they have a hand cam?
Yeah.
Whether you like
there's
that's pretty funny.
There's pictures in the Polygon article. But it's just like a wall of controllers and just like these robot fingers just sitting there mashing on the buttons.
That's pretty good. I like that.
Yeah, so it sounds like they'll be much better this time. And I really hope they don't have a slow turn. That'd be pretty disastrous.
All right, so
Having
I'm gonna
an entire generation of controllers be broken.
hold on. I have to get Rack in here.
Other than that, I don't really have anything. Do you want to wrap up with PlayStation versus Xbox? Like which one you were more impressed with from the initial?
Sure. I mean, we didn't even touch games. I mean, obviously that's something. I guess I'll end with that. There wasn't much to show for games, and in that regard, I felt like if this is a preseason match and we're heading into the season, Sony right now is up on Microsoft, in my opinion. Despite some of the things that I really like about Microsoft, like the possibly the partnership with NFL, it's kind of ambiguous on whether or not that's going to be through cable providers, which Colin thinks it is, or whether that's just through Ethernet connection, and they're going to charge like NFL ticket stuff. The Connect stuff, obviously it seems like this is going to heavily emphasize Connect. I don't know if the games are going to be there to support it. I don't know if I mean I'm personally of the feeling that is gimmicky, but you know there's people in there, and obviously this is next gen, so maybe this will be the time when it finally takes off if the tech is there, if they polish it up enough. So that's something that's kind of, and I don't really care about. I do like the idea of having a camera there, but if I'm going to use my camera, I'm either going to use it to stream or for Skype. So if I can use it for streaming, that's really cool, but they didn't announce that yet. If I can include it in a DVR, that's cool, but they didn't announce that function yet. So right now, the only thing that is really appealing to me, because the games that I saw, I don't care about EA. Like, we knew, like, you didn't even have to tell me that EA was going to have Madden, FIFA, Fight Night. What else am I missing? I guess the new one is UFC, which is kind of surprising. UFC might be one that I'm like, let me try that out. But those other three and whatever basketball title, hockey, like I knew those were going to be there. So you might as well just scoot EA's little portion out of the whole conference. They didn't even count. They were just shouldn't have even been there. Like, it was stupid that they even had them there. Quantum Break, and
what the fuck was that?
I have no idea. We had some little girl who has some type of psychic powers or something like that. Like,
There was a mix of TV, like video, and then
TV, video, gameplay.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't, unless that was supposed to be cinematics. I don't know.
I don't know. I think we watched it at the office, and all of us were just kind of shaking our heads. Like,
yeah, all of us, it was the same thing. Mark now, our creative director, walked over to me and was like, was that Minority Report? Was that like precog? Does she have psychic power? I don't get it. So that is, I think Kylan is up, so you guys might hear her. But that is probably the one thing that I'm like, what kind of games are we going to see? What they did say that was positive was there are 15 exclusives, 8 new IPs. And I was only going to think, I thought at launch they were going to have 3, maybe 4. But they're saying 8 new IPs at launch. So we're probably going to get, no, we're not going to get Destiny. I'm sorry. They, I think Bungie confirmed that will not be a launch title for PS4. Yeah. So it's going to be like PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 most likely first. Possibly.
On all consoles.
So I can't even say Destiny. That's what I was hype about on Twitter. So Destiny is not for a launch title. So what does that mean? We have Quantum Break probably? Is that a new IP? Yeah, I guess so. That'll be there. Forza.
It's not just that. It's 15 in the first year.
Right.
That's insane. And then 8 new IPs in the year.
Right. So that's. I mean, that's.
We don't know the quality of those IPs, but that's still like
pretty huge.
A few of those has to stick, right?
Right. A few of those are pretty huge. Obviously, I think we can all say that Call of Duty Ghosts is going to be one of the big ones.
That as an exclusive because
that might be a few. I think they're counting that as one of the 15 or 7, I guess, exclusive titles because of that content push.
It's not even just launch titles. That's 15 exclusives.
Right. So that's pretty huge. The other thing about that, I guess that's kind of interesting to me, is the idea, and I kind of mentioned this a little bit a second ago, is the game DVR portion of this. So they haven't really said what platforms you're going to be able to upload to. They said Xbox Live, share with your friends. So I'm just going to assume that they have a share button that says share to YouTube. You're going to tie your YouTube account, Twitter, Facebook, wherever. And do you think Microsoft would store the video somewhere like Bungie used to do?
They have the giant cloud. I assume it goes there.
So
the giant cloud.
Maybe they're trying to. I would hope that they don't oust YouTube in this, because that would be absolutely ridiculous. But that, I think, is one thing that's really kind of interesting to me, is the game DVR. And then they mention editing tools. So does that mean that you're going to be able to have Adobe Premiere CS6? I don't think so. But you might get Windows Movie Maker.
No, it's probably going to be simple clipping, I think.
Well, Windows Movie Maker. It's pretty simple clipping.
Maybe. Do they even support that anymore? I think it's discontinued.
It's in the cloud. Whatever. Whatever they want to say. I don't know. So yeah. I think from that standpoint, I'm only interested in the game DVR, the 8 exclusives, which could be really compelling to me, and I'm just waiting it for E3. I honestly feel like Sony won the first matchup, to answer the question that I kind of got off topic with a little bit. But I feel like Sony won this first lineup because I have the streaming. Despite not using Ustream, they have it there. It's in their mind. That makes sense to me as someone that produces content. I want to be a part of that. They confirmed a few more games that are interesting to me than what Microsoft did, and that's partially on the developers willing to give that information. That's partially on Sony saying that's okay, and Microsoft saying no, we want to save that for E3. But you also have to think that Sony gave their press conference 6 months or 4 months before E3, and Microsoft is giving theirs 2 weeks before E3. So it's like, I understand that they don't want to show everything, so I can't really fault them too much. So right now, Sony won the preseason matchup, flat out. Would you agree?
Yeah, for me, the biggest thing is that Sony kind of came out as a gaming platform with very core gamer-centric features. Like the streaming feature, for example, I think is a really good indicator of their direction with the platform. You know, the share button and the kind of let's play games together kind of aspect, where Xbox kind of came out with a more media center focused presentation, and very much, I think most of the show was spent watching TV and on different ways to watch TV and do other stuff while you watch TV. So for me as a gamer, Sony definitely came out way more focused on what I want, which again could come down to the fact that Microsoft's going to be showing their games 2 weeks from now.
Right.
So I think they need to really wow me. I think that Twitch needs to be involved. For me personally, to get really excited. But it's really hard for me because I know all my friends are on Xbox, and I like the Xbox controller way better.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Those are the two things that are stopping me from just immediately saying, "Yep, I'm a PlayStation guy now."
Are you going to sacrifice the shittiness of the controller with Sony at the expense of your play experience for better games, or are you gonna go with Microsoft, who could potentially have better, worse games. We don't know in their lineup because they have a better controller. We have Raxzilla joining us. What's up?
Hey, how's it going?
That's a big question.
Yeah. So as we wrap up, I should be able to put this in chat. So I wanted to just clarify. Fuck! I lost the window. According to Xbox support, the information released about the used game thing was false. So they said, I understand your concerns, but can confirm that any information for fees for used games is incorrect. That's the Xbox support replying to a user. Obviously, that was Microsoft's Phil Harrison that was initially saying those. So, who knows? I'll probably go with the Xbox support line for now, but it sounds like that's definitely going to need clarification.
Yeah, it's probably going to get cleared up really quickly. Hopefully we hear some more at E3. Colin, I need to pull up the big list. If you could put that in chat, that would be awesome too.
Someone said they should fire Phil Harrison.
Phil was just not. He was not on point.
I'm pretty sure Phil would have to sign up for that.
He was not on point. All right.
Do you have the camera swapping right?
Yeah, it is swapping correctly.
Yeah, do you have the question list? Or you need me to put it in chat?
I need you to put it in chat for us.
Is it just the one which we have here?
Yeah, it's like a huge list. I think there's like 27 questions on there.
Hopefully you came ready, Rack.
We'll
I'll
see.
do the introduction. For those who don't know, we're chatting with... Fuck. I'm going to mispronounce your last name, and I feel bad.
Kinsler.
Thank you. We're chatting
There
with
you go.
Will Kinsler, who is the...
Community manager.
Community manager over at Epic Games. Obviously involved with the Gears of War series, which I think a lot of our viewership probably came from Gears, so... Most already know who Rack is.
Yeah, I'd say most people probably in the chat today know who you are, Will. What's up? How you doing, man?
That's good. I'm really good. I'm glad that Colin is right side up, because when I first got in here, he was like...
He was flipping?
Down. Well, yeah. Well, the thing is, so I just came from boxing, right? And I thought, oh, man, like I must have got hit really hard. This is like upside down in the chat.
Yeah. I kind of instigated that a little bit. It was my fault. But... yeah, I'm very happy. You are. I think he's our second guest. We had Barbosa, who at the time was representing IPL. He was here with us, and that was very early in our show. And we kind of gone on a little drought here, and now you're joining us. Will, can you kind of let everyone know how long you've been in the industry and kind of what you do at Epic?
Sure. Yeah. So I guess I've been in the industry about 6.5 years now. Started out doing community for EA Sports. So I started out, working on games like Madden, NCAA football, Tiger Woods, and NASCAR. Been with Epic a little over 2 years now. I started kind of like right around Gears 3 beta time as a community manager. Work on Gears, but also everything else that's Epic, so Infinity Blade and Fortnite as well.
Okay. All right. Pretty sweet. Now, we just got done wrapping up with the Microsoft basically unveil. What did you think? Did you watch the whole show?
I did. Yeah. Actually, they have. I know you guys have been in the studio before, so you kind of have sort of an idea what the layout is. But they actually have the big area, sort of near the kitchen, called the arena, where they stream that. So it's like massive, screen where like pretty much the whole studio kind of can sit in there and watch stuff. And so a lot of people sat in there and watched it.
Were you impressed or kind of like, let me wait for E3?
I'm always curious to see, how this sort of stuff plays out. I think I probably am more interested in reading fan reactions than I am just to kind of see it, because that's sort of my thing. But no, I thought it was really interesting. I actually wrote down a couple of things because I knew we were going to be kind of talking about it. But I thought there was some stuff that kind of stuck out to me. Obviously, people are wanting to know more about the games. Obviously, that's what it's all about for us. But I thought that one thing that was really interesting was the sort of like interactive TV and media stuff. Not so much, the specifics, and like it wasn't like super granular and stuff like you guys were kind of talking about before
Right.
I hopped on. But what I thought that was interesting about that was just sort of like a sign of growth of the industry and where the industry is at, because if you look at the brands and the content providers that they're talking about, these are like some pretty big established content providers. They're talking about like ESPN and NFL and stuff like that. And so for somebody, a brand like the NFL, to be like, hey, how do we take our our content and our product to the next level, and basically going to the gaming industry to do that, I think is a really, really good sign. It's really indicative of the growth of the industry, and the fact that, it's gaming that can help provide like more of an integrated, an interactive platform that you just, don't have anywhere else.
Right. And obviously, I kind of, you and I have had several discussions, so I know your history really well. Mm-hmm. As someone that played Madden, and just, I know you love sports just like I do.
Yes.
Was the NFL, again, it was very ambiguous on what they were kind of talking about, but was that portion of that conference really like interest? That was like, I heard NFL and like immediately was like, what? Let me tune in a little bit more.
Yeah. No. I mean, it definitely stuck out to me. Obviously, I want to learn a little bit more about like the specifics of of what it entails and what it means. I mean, I'm a Sunday ticket, every year subscriber and stuff like that. So if it's like, hey, we're giving you something cooler, that you already have, but we're delivering it a different way, like I'm happy enough with that, right?
Right.
If it's something even better than that, great. Obviously the fantasy integration is pretty cool. Like I play fantasy football, so yeah. I mean, again, it's a tease, right? Like we don't know exactly what it all means, but I thought it was pretty cool.
Okay. One thing with the games, I think we kind of wrapped up with this. There's nothing that could really stick out. I mean, I think Colin and I we both predicted that Forza would be shown. I don't know if you play Forza, Will, but I guess the only other IP, I mean, obviously EA Sports is going to have their whole cast of lineups. And I'd say, like I said, you can kind of throw them aside because that's going to occur anyway. So It was like Quantum Break, which is the only game we could really talk about that's a new IP. Did that intrigue you, at least with what they showed?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit, but I think we kind of knew coming in that that E3 is going to be about the games,
right?
That's where all the games are. So yeah, it was a nice little tease. Good news is E3 is not that far away, right? Like just
right.
I'm
Don't have to wait too long.
Yeah.
All right, so getting into some more gaming-centric questions. We have some from Frag Logic. That's us, and then I have these divided two ways, guys. To let everyone know in chat, I posted up a video early in the week saying that Will. Well, actually, I don't know if in the video I said Will be on or someone from Epic Games, but I kind of alluded to it in the title. I think I did say that you would be on. But we had like 100 and something comments or questions for comments, and I can't get all of those in for one show. So I did 12. I didn't want to do 10 because that seemed like a really generic number. Like, oh, I'm going to do 10 out of 100. Yes, that makes sense. So I was like, I'll do 12. So I have 12 community questions, and then I have, is that right? Is it 11? 11 community questions, and I have another 13 or 12 questions of our own. But here's the caveat with our own. Some of these are your questions specifically, but they're repeated. So I don't want to make it seem like I saw 100 questions and I was just like, let me not pay any attention to those. And I was like, I'm going to word these a little bit better, and I'm just going to present those as our own.
It sounds like you're stealing your fans' questions.
Maybe it could be. You guys can say that. I'm stealing my fans' questions.
Also, he can pad his numbers to get past 10.
All right. So the very first question we have, we talked about. And I kind of sent you these so you can kind of look over them. The development cycle of Gears Judgment seemed pretty quick. Obviously, I know game dev. Colin knows game dev. I don't think a lot of people out there know game dev in terms of cycles, how things get picked up, in terms of total time. But can you kind of divulge how much, I guess, total development time has been spent on Gears of War Judgment?
No, because I don't know. Don't know. Yeah, I actually don't know the answer to that question. I'm really not even sure if it's the kind of thing that we would share. But I mean, I rolled on to the roll on and off of different projects. So it was already being worked on by the time that I became involved with it. So I don't really know the answer to that one.
Okay. Second question we have. Actually, I'll go to the first question from the community. Colin, you can read that one. Is it? Yeah. We'll just go on and off with these.
Question from Thrashin All Around 092. One of the principal criticisms to Gao J is that it was perceived justifiably so, lack of content, particularly in the standard MP map count department. Given that in last week's Epic livestream, Jim said it takes 1 to 2 days to put a Gears of War 3 map, which I think he's talking about checkout, into Judgment, then why are you seemingly opting to only give us checkout as a flashback map?
So I'm not Jim. So I think that what Jim was referring to is the amount of time that it took for him to put it in there, right? Like not the amount of time that you have to do all the other things to test it, put it through QA passes and stuff like that. So I don't want to speak for him, but I think that he was essentially saying that's the amount of time that it took for him to put checkout actually into the game, not meaning like I can deliver it, based on 2 days of work, just for myself. But I think that is what he was referring to.
Right.
But we can go back and talk about that one again. Though that was I think it was touched on. It was in last week's live stream.
Live stream,
so,
yeah.
I can definitely follow up with him again this Thursday and see. But I think that is what he was referring to when he said that.
So basically, and I'll talk about our dev process. We have a build for a map. It gets checked in by one of the artists or someone else that has to do this map. We'll say the level designer checks it in. QA tests that map. It comes back out. He finished the designer, which again, this would be Jim in this case. The designer finishes the map. That comes out and it says, okay, it passed this test on this game type, this test on this game type, this test on this game type, this test on this game type. Oh, but it didn't work on this game type. And then it goes either back to Jim or back to someone else who can fix that. And then it gets iterated on and then it gets put back into the game. So it's not, again, what he's saying is it's not taking a 1 to 2 day process. It is iteration after iteration, testing, feedback. So you hear 1 to 2 days and as a gamer you think, oh man, that means I should have 50,000 maps. That's not the reality of it. The reality is there's a very meticulous testing process that goes on in game dev that starts with the designers, goes to QA, comes out of the QA, goes to the programmers, goes from the programmers and says back to QA, let's test this again. Then it goes maybe to an art pass. I don't know if you guys have an art pass on those, Will, but for us we go back to art, and it's just like a very meticulous process.
You make it sound like making a video game's hard.
No way. That's not hard. It's easy. It's easy. Everyone thinks it's easy.
The file from one game to another.
That's what I said when I asked Jim. I was like, you can't just put the maps in there. Yeah, I wish it was that easy.
Yeah, it would be phenomenal. All right, so let's go on to question numero 2. This is from us. The Epic Reaper has been very well received. This is just my personal perception of this. It's been very well received in the community. Will this concept kind of transfer over to other games? Fortnite you guys are working on. Infinity Blade could be something. Maybe your Xbox Live arcade title. I think it's Shadow something. Shadow Complex. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm just throwing out examples, but
yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's a good question. I think so. The funny thing about the Reaper and the way that has turned into this interesting program is that initially, and I'm not even 100% sure who came up with the idea at first inside of Epic. So Quindel Oyo is the one that first told me about it. He's like, hey, I have this cool thing. It's in the game. It's just sort of this cool thing that the team can use. And if you kill it, you get a special weapon skin and a medal. And so then when I saw it, I started to worry a little bit. Because my first reaction is oh man, it's if there's a skin tied to it, if there's a medal tied to it, then you got to make sure that as many people get it as possible, right? Just like my experience of past of working on Gears, some of that stuff that's like fairly exclusive, it's like not super easy to get. I mean, people go nuts for it, right? But so you want to give real opportunity for the people that want that stuff to be able to get it. And so we came up with essentially a program where not only Epic folks but also some leaders in the community have an opportunity to play as the Reaper. And so it's been way more successful than we thought that it was going to be. So it's something that we were excited about, and probably some of the most fun that I've had, like being a part of the Gears community, because it's like the first time we fired those things up, like I feel like I almost should like just go on and like record video and like capture some of this stuff. But some people just go like absolutely nuts. Like if you show up in a lobby with like people screaming and stuff, like you can't even tell what's going on. Like they just totally lose their mind. So anyway, so the question was, would we do that in other games? Well, I mean, I don't know that we'll take the Reaper into another game. Maybe, I guess it depends. But I think for us, it does show that, like, yeah, I mean, you want to have ways that there's sort of like unique content or things that are unusual, or maybe you wouldn't see, but every once in a while, and you really are rewarding the people that are coming back to the game, or rewarding people that are doing things in the community, whether it's being helpful, whether it's running streams, whether it's running events. So I think it's a good thing because it's a fun piece of content that people can play with, but it also rewards fans who are doing things at a higher level and really contributing. And yeah, it totally makes sense to do that kind of stuff in other games moving forward.
Right. I'm very satisfied with that. I haven't run into a Reaper, although Patty was playing with us second week of the game, and him and someone else from People Can Fly. I don't remember who that was. And they had the what's the main character of Bulletstorm? They had his skin.
Grayson.
Yeah.
They had his skin, and Patty kept asking us, did we want to kill the Reaper? He's like, guys, you want to kill the Reaper?
You want to see the Reaper?
Yeah.
I can whip out the Reaper.
So we're like, no, that's okay, Patty. We just want to play, dude.
You keep the Reaper. It's all right.
It's interesting playing with it, man, because it's like, on one hand, you have like it's like the ultimate like OP character, right? Because you have like a one melee kill and stuff like that. But then also it's like going to free for all, and like people don't even like try to kill each other anymore. They're all just trying to kill you, and it's really weird to play with it because it has this like super long evade where it's like it can actually be hard to like Nasher battle because it evades like so far that you're like just trying to like readjust, to Nasher battle with somebody is pretty tough. But like it's a lot of fun, man. Like I'm really happy with how it's turned out.
Sweet. All right, Colin, you got question number 2. I don't even have who that's from. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'll
go ahead and claim it. This one's from me. Will 4v4 Overrun ever be a possibility for the next or future title update? This is based on the fact that you can't spectate currently and bots fill in all the slots.
Unfortunately not, is my understanding, is that's not something that we can do. That's a tough one, right? Because, Overrun, it's a new mode. It's, something I know, Kale, I know you're a fan of it.
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a really competitive and interesting and compelling game type. And so it's too bad that we don't have a spectator mode, right? But my understanding is that it's not built in a way that we can do it in the same way that we can standard MP, and also it's not really built for 4v4, and so it's unfortunately just one of those things that we're not going to be able to do.
Sucks. Colin, your question was not very good.
Oh, what?
No, I'm joking.
I'll blame YouTube subscriber 453 then.
All right, so here's question 3 from us. This is one of the questions that was kind of wrapped up into a number of ones from you guys in the community, but I'm going to ask it and pose it in a much more tasteful way. What are your biggest disappointments and triumphs in Gears of War Judgment?
So I actually think that it's the same thing, which is that we had at the launch of Judgment, an unfortunate situation where we made some changes into the game, and to the rifles, kind of buffed the rifles. It was very clumsy communication in terms of like how we put that out, not with really not making sure that the community wanted it, and B was aware of it, right? And so that was a big miss on our part. But I think that it's also has kind of turned into the biggest win, because it's like, for us, it's definitely been like a teachable moment inside of Epic in terms of like turning the corner in like how we interact with fans. So I think everybody realizes, like, yeah, you don't put out an update and not tell people,
Right.
that it's coming, or talk to them about it. And it's not so much about, we didn't know that we shouldn't do that. It's about like our internal process, how we talk together, how we communicate, and it's really forced us to focus on that. And I think that, there's limitations to what we can do, now, after the game is shipped. But that I think that, at least in the time that since I've been at Epic, so like post Gears 3 ship, post Judgment ship, I think that we've made a lot of progress in terms of like how we communicate with people, and talk about the game and make changes. So for us, it's definitely, it's forced us to think a bit about the future and, what we want out of being able to like talk to fans. And I think that's something that we know, that's like, Gear series is a great series, but that this is an area that we can get a lot better. And it's just a sort of a turning point for us. So something that I think was not handled very well, but that we have turned the corner on.
Okay.
You're welcome, then. As my scathing video kicked all that off.
It did. No, it totally did. Well, so that's what's.
I was pretty pissed too. I'm not gonna lie.
I was also pissed, right? I mean, it's one of those things where it's like we know better, right? So like we should know better than that. And that's a tough conversation to have, internally, when you're not doing the best that you can, especially when it's something. It's like, I mean, fans are passionate about this stuff. Like, fans definitely deserve better. I got like a cat like trying to jump on my keyboard over here. Fans definitely deserve better than sneaking out updates and stuff like that. And so yeah, I mean, it's something that there was a lot of frustration about. We had to have like conversations about like, what do we really want? What do we really want? Out of how we're going to talk to our fans, to talk to our community, and it doesn't help you. You're not gonna build trust with fans if you're sneaking out updates like that. And so yeah, it's your video definitely. We could see that you guys were upset. I saw a good rant from Arctic on it as well.
The 20 years.
Yeah,
20 years. Doing this for 20 years.
I know, man. Yeah, you don't have to. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. It's like, it's like we messed up. So we had to do better. But I think that it's sometimes you have those stumbles. Like if you're gonna really fix something, if you're gonna really improve something, then you're gonna stumble before you do that. And so it was just a great proof point, because it got people at like every level inside of Epic like talking about it, and were aware about it, and there was like a lot of conversation about like, this is not who we want to be. And so yeah, it's given us a lot of momentum around that kind of conversation since then, and I think it's been a really good thing overall.
All right.
I got the next one, and following that, you get a chance to pitch your stuff, standard community manager style. From Gavin123, what plans does Epic have for Gears Judgment after the next DLC/title update? Can we expect any future content / more to use?
Oh boy, yeah. So unfortunately, there's not a whole lot to pitch here. We definitely not talking about anything past, what's in the next TU and DLC. So I think people know that there's an update coming next month. We have new game type breakthrough. We have some new maps: Lost City, Museum, and then Checkout for standard MP, and then Ward for Overrun. So I guess there's a couple of things probably that people are still waiting to hear. One, which is what's in the TU. We're basically just waiting to completely lock down that list before we share it out. I think we've talked like on stream the last couple of weeks about some of the things that are in there, but we want to get that list totally locked down so that we can share it out. And then I think the other thing that we kind of owe everybody is what are the achievements on that. So we still have a lot of communication to do just around the stuff that's coming. Next month, and then once we get through all that, then we can talk about future things.
Okay.
Are you able to confirm, or I guess whatever, Do you know if you'll be supporting Gears Judgment? Like, Gears 3 went all the way to Gears Judgment in terms of the weekly playlist and stuff that Pete was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know if that'll continue on, even if there weren't more DLCs, I guess, or whenever you guys are done with DLCs?
Yeah, I mean, I think, as long as people are continuing to talk to us, continuing to want to engage us on this and see new events and stuff like that, yeah, I mean, we'll keep doing the Community Reapers, we'll keep doing, events, we'll keep doing the stream. I think that's the plan right now. Is that like this is a community that we really enjoy talking to, and want to continue to do those things that you mentioned.
Let's see. We're on 4 on ours. That you basically just asked the question that we had.
Really? That was the next one. All right.
Hold on.
Do I get to go again? Is that how this works?
Well, no. I mean, I guess you can almost go again because it says this question is from us: is will there be continued supported community interaction for Gears Judgment?
It's pretty much exactly what he just asked.
That's exactly what he just asked. So back to the community.
Which is good because I think we have more community questions than we do. Actually, that's bad. Whatever. So from XXX Incision, XXX asks, when are we getting River? This was the vote that was mapped, or we voted on as a reward for getting Jim to 2,000 followers on Twitter. Are you guys gonna hold up to that?
I guess there's a thread on the forums that we stickied. Where it was kind of a fan organized vote of what maps would you most like to see if we could do a classic map. And so that thread has been up for, I guess, a couple months now, since not long after launch. Unfortunately, I mean, we can't bring back maps that are prior to Gears 3 timeframe, I guess. The team looked at what it would take, and so Checkout ends up being the classic map. Of the Gears 3 maps, it was the one that had the most votes in that thread on the forum, got the most votes in places like Facebook, Twitter as well. So unfortunately, yeah, we'd love to bring back River. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen. And Checkout was sort of the best bet to get a map in that fans wanted.
Okay.
Do you want the second part of that question, Gail?
What is it in there?
Yeah, it's about hype. Here, I can just ask it now that Mark.
Yeah, you can just ask it since you're looking at it.
Does Epic plan on promoting Hype Station 3 and having people attend since it's close to Epic's headquarters? I believe it's in Raleigh, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah,
yes.
It's here in Raleigh. So yeah, absolutely. So I've actually been talking with Barbosa, who's the organizer of Fight for. Oh man, I think we first actually started talking about it when all you guys came out back in the fall. And so I started talking with him about it, and we kind of like sort of planted a seed back then of like, hey, it'd be cool if Hype could be here. And then I met with him prior to the launch of Judgment, like maybe a month before the game came out. We did like a media tour out in the Bay, and went and sat and talked with him about how we can make this happen here. And so we've been having calls a couple times a week, just talking about like how can we support it, really blow it out, from for one, the fact that we're here, so certainly we can come out and support it in person, but also, how can we support it through our channels? Can we, put it in the Gears 3 calendar? Can we, get it on Facebook and stuff like that? And so, yeah, the answer is yes. We're going to do all that stuff. There's a few small things that we're trying to work out, and I think you'll probably see a lot of the sort of big push from us in the next few weeks once they have like registration up and stuff like that, because if we're going to promote it, we want there to be like call to action, and people are able to like go and sign up for it. So that's the reason you haven't seen a whole lot about that yet, but I know they were also focusing on like, it's gone from just a Judgment tournament to like more of like a Gears Fest where they're going to have multiple titles and stuff like that. So really we're just looking to lock all that stuff down before we do the big push, but I think we're probably maybe like a week or two away from really getting things rolling. We're going to talk about it on our stream every week leading up to it. Like, I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I love the fact that it's in our backyard, because like anytime we do stuff like that, like people from Epic show up, you know what I mean? Like everybody, loves to get that FaceTime with fans, and it's kind of sucks because like not everybody gets to do that, right? Like I get to go out to PAX, I get to go out to other events and things that we have, and we don't send like 40 people to PAX, right? But so to have something in our backyard, it was really cool when we did the MLG thing prior to Gears 3 launch. Did that sort of showcase, like that kind of stuff is big, and also we really we have a real interest in wanting to show some of the folks inside of Epic, like what does Gears competitive community look like, and really strike up some conversation about that, because yeah, I mean, I think since Judgment launch, obviously we've really tried to open things up, but I think there's an opportunity to talk about like some almost like post-mortem type conversation of like, hey, how can we do this better, or
right.
How can we communicate with people in a better way? What are the things that you most care about? Just really good opportunity for FaceTime. So I'm hoping that once details and stuff are all out there, that we see a lot of people show up and have a really good time.
Sounds fantastic. I do plan on attending. Colin, are you going?
Maybe.
Well, you know what? It depends on schedule.
Like Saturday, Sunday. Or...
Yeah, it will depend on our schedule at the studio.
I'd like to though.
Sounds pretty good. This almost. Did you transition to this on purpose, Colin? Are you doing this on purpose? What are some upcoming community events that will be primarily held by Epic Games? In-game, off-site?
How subtly I do it either.
You're dirty, dude.
He's totally messing you up. So there's this thing called Hype Festation.
Yeah.
And it's coming in August, and you should check it out. Yeah, I mean, I think that really is the next big thing, right? So we have this DLC content, Lost Relics DLC, that we're focused on. We're going to continue to do weekly events. We announce those every Thursday, typically, and run the events in game Friday to Friday on that special event server. But live events, yeah, I think that is probably the next big thing that you'll see us do and support.
Okay. Colin, with the community question, you bastard.
And probably your next question.
Yeah. I'll just let you go. Just might as well not even talk.
This probably falls under... Actually, no. I'll just read it as is. From I'm Terrors on YouTube. Has Gears gone the way you thought it would?
That's an interesting question. That's really, really broad. So that could mean an awful lot of things. I wish it was a little bit more specific. Look, it's a game, if he's speaking specifically about Judgment, it's a game that there was a lot of, sort of changes, a lot of, risks and things like that that were taken. And so maybe that's what the question is about like, has it played out the way that we thought it would? I think it's been an interesting experiment, right? I mean, we had the, 3 games that were part of the trilogy. Took Judgment as an opportunity to try some different things. Obviously, some bumps in the road in terms of the communication of the things that we talked about. But I try to be open-minded about about how I perceive and pay attention to things and the way that fans react to the game. And like I said, I think this one is a big teachable moment for us because it's really opened up conversation more with fans than I think that we've had in the past. And that it can help inform the way that we do things in the future. So maybe I answered the question. I don't know. It was super, super broad. So I mean, maybe that's what they were getting at. But yeah, I mean, I try not to go into
broad questions get broad answers.
Yeah. I try not to go into any sort of title launch with like a whole lot of preconceived notions. I mean, you have a sense of the things that you think people are going to care about and stuff like that, and you pay attention to those things and have a lot of conversation about them. But I'm pretty much down for anything. Whatever it is that ends up happening that we end up talking about, I'm always happy to do it and look forward to it.
Sweet. All right, Colin. Thank you. You didn't follow up. All right, so Colin and I have. Well, obviously, we're content creators. We have a live show. We're also both in the industry. We do YouTube. We do live streams. Are you guys interested in expanding on your Epic Gamers program And are there kind of plans to create? I put up, if you can remember my thread, I actually made a thread about this on the forums.
I was gonna reference it. This is totally not a fan question. This is definitely a KL question.
This is a KL question.
I felt so sad because when I responded to it, you were like, "I'm disappointed. That's not what I wanted to hear." But yeah, so no, it's actually a really good question. So I'll try to provide a little bit of context around this. So I've been at Epic 2 years. There's a lot of things on the community side that we've done that are really new to Epic. Got there right around Gears 3 beta time, and we, had a very sort of new, community on Twitter and on Facebook, and tried to reach a lot more people than we had in the past, just with forums, while at the same time continuing to talk to those fans. One of the other things that we did right away was we put up this Epic Games community site. So that's something that, in terms of how it looks and what it does, it's just a blog. I think we kind of know that. But that for us, it was sort of like a Band-Aid to say, well, we're going to, build an engaged community, so we've got to have a destination. Knowing that, this is not like the 10-year plan of what Epic Games community looks like, but that it gives us a place that people can go, on a regular basis, interact with us, see our content, get updates, and that sort of thing. So in that regard, it's worked really, really well. I think we've had something like 10 million or unique visitors there in the last couple of years. And so for something that we just kind of put up really quickly in a couple of weeks' time, I think we're happy with it. But it is a Band-Aid, and it doesn't do some of the things that you mentioned in your thread or that you mentioned in your question.
I never cite other games, by the way. I leave it very ambiguous, such and such is doing this or something like that. So I try not to do that because I know that's shunned upon there.
No, I mean, actually, well, so maybe
it is.
Maybe it's shunned upon the question, but that doesn't bother me at all. I mean, I think you totally have to look at what other games are doing, and so yeah, I mean, if you're not doing something because it's just you haven't done it yet, that's okay, right? That doesn't mean that you're not going to do it, and it doesn't mean if somebody else does it first that you shouldn't do it either.
Right.
I mean, I think if you look at some of the really cool branded destinations, that's stuff that we pay a lot of attention to. So I'll give you an example of one I really like, which is what they do with PlanetSide. I think that the destination in terms of their community destination is really awesome. The types of content they have, the way that they surface it. And look, man, I mean, you guys are talking about the Xbox reveal today. It's not just about having a blog with a bunch of text and a couple of pictures, right? Anymore. It's about really having somewhere that's a real destination that you can interact with content. A lot of it's got to be fan content. We have had a really strong focus on fan content on the community site. I mean, I think we've had, I don't know what the count is off the top of my head, but there's been a couple in the last 2 years, probably 250, 300 pieces of content that are submitted by fans on there. So it exists. In terms of how it's presented, then I think that's where our site needs some work, right? I mean, there's not a hub for streaming. There's not a hub for video content. So you can't drill down in content the way that we would like for that to happen. But I think that what we're trying to do is we're trying to look at that from a long-term approach of what do we want those product and community destinations to look like. And so yeah, it's in the, I guess what I would say is it's in the plan. In terms of the future, it's the type of thing that we're thinking about a lot. But we want to get that strategy right, across the board. And so it's not something that we're going to approach and just kind of throw something up, because that's what we did with the community site. We threw it up quickly as we just need something. We need something to drive people to, because we didn't have it before.
Right.
But yeah, I spent a lot of time, looking at what other companies do inside and outside of our industry. I think that's the other thing, is I wouldn't limit it to the kind of content that you get inside of gaming. It's important to know what other people are doing. Yeah. I mean, we're totally going to expand on that sort of stuff. So I mean, the Epic Gamers specific part of the question, I can touch on real quick. So we launched that program with essentially Team Epic Gamers, which was basically 5 people. And
I only remember one. It was Liam.
Yeah, well, most of those guys work in the industry now that are part of it.
Are they?
Yeah. So there was,
Yeah, that's
Liam, Lauren from Razer was a part of it. There's a guy named Trey who now, is working on some of the, works on the Elder Scrolls Online stuff. So a lot of those guys really have kind of graduated on. But the idea behind that was like to provide like a model for like here's what the model community citizen looks like. This is like what if you were going to contribute on like the highest level that you can contribute on, here's what you could do. And so we took people that worked on different things. We have a guy, Tim, who really focuses a lot on art. We have people that did events, and we have people that stream. And so we took this sort of cross-section of the community. We showed it to fans, really with the notion of like, well, not everybody is going to work on that amount of content, right? Like obviously,
right.
as you guys know, doing shows like this every week, spend a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. Not everybody is gonna host a Frag Logic, every week. But so we kind of wanted to build that layer below that, which is I think where we're at now, where maybe you're not contributing every single day something new in terms of like a piece of content or something that you're doing, but then at least you have like a way, if you did want to do that, a way to reach out to us. So you mentioned, we really are just doing it on the forum now. It's a barrier to entry probably for people to be able to submit content that way. So we have to find other ways to be able to do that too, or just a better job of like finding content that people are already creating and pulling back into us. But the idea wasn't to have like Team Epic Gamers and keep building this massive like elite group of people. That really was just like a foundation, that I think really has kind of served its purpose at this point. So that's why you haven't seen that small group continue to grow, because to me that felt like a very exclusive group, whereas like what we're trying to do is build that layer where it's inclusive, where people feel like anybody can contribute, and here's how you do it. And I think moving forward you'll see that become, on Epic Games community, it's really like across all of our titles. I think that when we build product destinations, you'll see those sort of programs manifest themselves very specifically towards a certain product, as opposed to like this one catch-all where we do everything. I
have a follow-up to that, because if anyone out there is in the chat right now, if you guys have visited the Epic Games forums and you've seen some of the fan art, like it is absolutely phenomenal. And the thing that really caught my eye was back on Gears of War 3, there was a thread from, I can't remember who it was off the top of my head, but he did like literally like 50 different designs for weapon skins. Yeah. And all of them were like badass. And so like would that type of content eventually make its way into a game if it was, if you had the platform there?
It should, right? Like, there's no reason why it shouldn't. I think you're going to see more of that kind of stuff. So, I mean, that's another good example, right? You talk about the community site. I mean, I think one of the other things is like, if you have channels like Facebook and Twitter and a compelling web destination, that's a way to reach part of your audience, but like the biggest way to reach them is within the game. Like, what can you do within the game? And some of that's about platform and like the limitations of tech and stuff like that. But yeah, wherever there's an opportunity to do that, absolutely. I mean, we've got to do more of that kind of stuff. I wish we could do it with weapons.
You can't just copy and paste them from his art into the game? Like, what the hell?
Oh, man. That part's probably not... The technical part may not even be the hard part. I think it's probably the legal part that's the...
Makashi... Wait, I can't... Makashi says it was Nepal. If anyone can find that link really quick, if you're in chat, while we're kind of talking about this, make sure to post it up, because that... I'm seriously, when I say that thread was phenomenal with the different, like, it's so badass. Like, I think he rendered them 3D renders and like put them on the skins himself. Like, that was absolutely like to the T, the type of things that I would like to see. Like, okay, this is community high end, like I want to see this in game, and I would love to see that in the future. So
I got the link. Okay,
sweet. Let me see. I think Colin has the follow-up now. Where are we at? Where are we at with this? We at
so here's what
8.
I do.
All right, so we're pretty good.
I'm reading these questions, and I think there's a common theme. So I'm going to read 3 questions and then a 4th question that sums them all up really well.
Okay.
Since I think I already know where your answer is going to go, so it doesn't really make sense.
These are the community questions?
Why am I even here? He's gonna
know.
He's gonna ask all the questions and then he's gonna answer the questions.
They won't believe it if I say it. I can say on the show every single week, like, I bet Will would say this about this. So I'm gonna read 3 questions, and then the 4th question will be the one you actually answer.
Okay.
From Proto Tiger, why is the character list in Judgment so small? Is there a way it's possible to, anything that we as fans can do to bring the Carmines back for multiplayer? And then I got from X Nick Wins X. Why did you guys think that making Judgment open to all types of players with quick nades, Y weapon switch, quick downs, or quick kills, no DMNO was a good idea? Which is kind of a negative question. And then we got...
I didn't even include the second part of that question, by the way.
Really?
So go ahead. Go ahead.
That was with you filtering slightly?
Yeah.
What was the main design reason for from Malasiah Russell. What was the main design reason for abandoning Cog vs. Locust when developing Gao J? And why Blue vs. Red as opposed to Cog vs. UIR color scheme, which would have been more fitting as a gear title? And then the question to answer from Modded Talent very succinctly sums up all that. Judgment's multiplayer has introduced a variety of positive changes, such as the removal of stopping power, active reloads, and the introduction of overrun. At the same time, it has removed elements that are loved by the community, including Locust vs. Cog across all game types, symmetrical maps, and the Horde mode. Given the community's response, do you think these elements would return if there was ever to be a new Gears game? Also, how do I apply it Epic?
So what's the part you thought I was going to answer? How do I apply Epic? Is it?
That'd be the easy way out, wouldn't it?
Well, I can answer that first, I guess. You know, all of our jobs at Epic are on epicgames.com/careers. Any opening that we have is there. And also on Twitter, we have actually recruiters on Twitter from time to time at Epic Talent as well. So yeah, okay, so that was a lot of questions that basically... General
summary being that there was a lot of bad changes from the public's perspective, as well as some good changes. So how would that apply to the next game?
Well, I mean, I think it goes back to what we've been talking about a lot, right, on the stream today, which is that you know, so I don't have details to announce about future titles or anything like that, but I think that the one thing that I can say is that we have to communicate about this stuff, and we have to make sure that when we make decisions, we're, you know, one, involving the community in them in the first place, and that two, we're explaining the reasons why we do something, and we're explaining it, you know, in great detail and really well. So I mean, some of those things that you know specifically asked, you know, I mean, I feel like we've talked about some of them, you know, over the last few months. You know, I think that those are decisions that were made pretty early on that we decided to stick with. I'm trying to think of some of the specific. I will try to answer some of the specific things. Yeah. So there was a question about you know, characters. I think that we're not probably, unfortunately, going to see more characters. You know, like Carmine, I know is one that people have asked about a lot.
I think Jim on the stream said that at least with Clayton, there's something with his armor that makes it like literally impossible for him to get in without some major tweaks.
Well, yeah. Well, I think people ask specifically about Clayton because he's in Aftermath.
Okay.
And so that's why they're asking about him, because he's actually like on the disc. Yeah. And yeah, but I mean, look, as a general philosophy, yeah, we made a lot of changes. I mean, I think some of them, you know, certainly, I actually like the weapon swapping changes in terms of like the controls. That stuff, I think, yeah, I mean, we definitely get asked about like, you know, could we have an option to go back? You know, that's obviously something that we didn't do. I don't know if I would recommend it with the pace of and speed of Gears to not switch on Y. If you could have that option, yeah. I mean, we definitely took some big risks and some big changes in terms of some of the things that we did, and some of our communication with fans, like since after launch, we've tried to change some of those things the way that fans want them. I think looking at adding basically a shotgun and rifle loadout back into most of the game types for multiplayer is something that people wanted to see, so we were willing to try it. And so now it's really at a point of like, what can we do, right? So that's kind of what we've looked at. I think we can't, unfortunately, do locusts in standard multiplayer. That's something that we've touched on. But yeah, it just goes back to like, we have to be more open and upfront about this stuff from the very beginning and communicate about it. That way, if we are going to change something, that we have opportunity to get feedback about it before we go to the point of no return, I guess.
All right. With a lot of this, I will say some of the questions that I specifically got asked on YouTube, they're going to be addressed and if you guys missed the Epic Games live stream, I'll probably link that in chat, but if you guys go through some of those, like, they actually discuss the very things that you guys are asking, and they go over them pretty in depth and answer those questions. Like, what's one off the top of my head that I think that gets asked quite a bit? Probably, I mean, the character question is definitely one. I'm trying to remember, there was a specific one that I had in mind when I was going to say this, but for whatever reason it slipped my mind because now I'm looking at a new question. But yeah, anyway, they do answer a lot of questions there on the Epic Games live stream that you guys have asked in the past. I'm sure you're probably asked during the stream, and you guys will ask in the future. It's just a matter of them having that information available for you guys. I'm going to go back to Frag. Well, I think we're done with the community questions unless we go to some chat stuff.
There's actually 2 more.
Oh, there's 2 more? Okay.
Yeah. I probably just took your next 5 questions with that last one.
No, you didn't, because the rest of my stuff is not even Gears of War related.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So, I mean, beforehand, like I said, I sent this to Rack to kind of get some information on whether or not I could see anything about Fortnite. So, what I'm going to do is very broadly ask. We know that you guys are working on Fortnite.
You could just ask all the questions.
I can.
That's what. I mean, just ask them all at once. I mean,
okay.
Well, it'll make sense after.
Okay. Okay. So.
I think I know his answer, but no one else would believe me if I said it. So.
Initial impressions have led us to kind of believe that Fortnite is a cross between Minecraft, based off of the ability to build things, which we've kind of seen publicly that you guys have shared, and the art style seems very like TF2-ish, kind of cartoony. I think that this question is that an accurate assessment? Minecraft plus TF2. Next question is we've seen a bit of footage of Fortnite, but not much else has been shown other than like some initial trailers, some discussion about it. When and where will we be able to hear about the game's progress? Has there been any discussion of Fortnite making its way to next generation consoles? Is Epic Games self-publishing Fortnite? Meaning that for you guys that don't know, that it's like Activision is a publisher, EA is a publisher, Microsoft is a publisher, and so from what we know, that Fortnite is a PC-specific game. Typically, there's no publisher sometimes with the PC games, not always, but that's very important because, and I'm gonna just publicly say this, like, here's some information. Like, if you are working with Treyarch, I'm gonna give our studio as an example. If you're working with Treyarch or I'm sorry, not Treyarch, Activision or EA or something like that, and you're working on a game, you cannot sometimes publicly state things because they just won't let you. Like, you can't do it, and you have to get permission from your publisher in order to market your game. So if you're self-publishing, you're able to openly, freely talk about things a little bit more. So that's kind of where this question is leading to. Will you guys be able to talk about this game in the future? Why are you laughing, Colin?
You just gave me the whole explanation, like, yeah, if you're doing it yourself, then you can talk about it. So
I'm just saying for people that don't know.
The whole thing was just leading into that.
People don't know this information if they're not in the gaming industry.
He's not going to fall for that.
I know Will. I know Will is, but what I'm saying is the people in the stream don't always know this information, so I must make it public to them. Let me see. I think this is the last Fortnite question. Are there plans in action to seed some early and potentially long-term community interaction programs with Fortnite? So those are all the Fortnite questions.
You know, you can probably talk about it if it's self-published.
You were probably talking about all this stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if you'll have a job when you go back to Epic, but I'm sure you can talk about this stuff.
So this is what I can tell you. So I don't have answers for all of those questions. I think it's certainly fine to ask them. There's a lot of curiosity and interest in Fortnite, which is really exciting for us. We haven't communicated a whole lot of detail about the game. We showed a trailer. It's been some time since we showed that initial trailer, and then we did some panels last year at PAX and at Comic-Con, where we talked a little bit about the game. So I don't have answers for a lot of those specific things that you asked for. But I did want to talk a little bit about like the overall approach, because that was sort of what the last question was kind of leading into. And I think that, while you're not going to learn a whole lot of detail about the game tonight, I think the one sort of theme is like, how do we interact and talk with our community? What I can tell you that you might not know about is that there are fans that have played Fortnite.
What?
Yes. People.
Why are you going to tell me that? See, that just makes me even more upset that I've asked all these questions.
I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you why.
What we had to do is barge through one door, and we could have.
See, this just opening up more doors now.
I gave the example of Judgment, like post-chip experience, and like how we talk to people, and how there are all these questions around the game about decisions that were made a long time ago that can't be reversed and stuff like that. And so for Fortnite, it's really important for us to have that model of like getting fans in from the ground floor, from the very beginning, to be getting feedback on this game, and putting it in front of people and learning what they think about it. And so what we did was, I know you guys don't like ninja updates, but we kind of did a little bit of sort of ninja event here at our local East Coast Game Conference. So for those who aren't in North Carolina that aren't aware, it's a relatively small local conference that's here, that we see some of the local developers at. We have a presence there. We show some of our engine stuff off there from time to time. And basically what we did was we invited a select few people that showed up at that conference to come and play Fortnite behind closed doors. So we weren't able to talk about it. They're under NDA and that sort of thing. But it was a really good first opportunity for us to get the game in front of fans. Really sort of, they didn't have any sort of preconception of what it was. They got really long, hour-long, sort of play sessions with it, and then we sat and talked for half hour, 45 minutes with people after they came out and played. So, that I think is, if you're looking at Epic and sort of what our history has been and what our future is, I think we like to think that is much more along the lines of what you can expect to see from Epic, as opposed to some of the examples on Judgment where we talked about where we like to do things differently.
Right.
It was something that we did kind of on the sly and in secret, and I think there's going to be more opportunities. It's really important for us to get Fortnite into people's hands and do that early. I think that I can say, because we mentioned it during our panels, that at some point there will be a beta, so that's not really a secret. But that's a big part of it. That feedback and what do people want to see and how we can iterate on it, is what we want to do. So it's not details about the game. It's maybe details a little bit about like what our process is going to be, and sort of like what our commitment is to fans. But I'm really excited about it. I mean, it was very cool to be able to do that. I mean, we tried to do some things on Judgment. Obviously, we brought you guys in. I think it was fairly late in the game. It was really more about tuning and things at that point. It wasn't about like wholesale massive changes. And also you guys really only saw a cross section of the game because there were some things in there that you didn't play. But yeah, I mean, this is us trying to trying to walk the walk in terms of, it's easy for us to say like, hey, we're going to do things differently. We're going to go out and let people play and get feedback. But it's already happening on Fortnite. I think, in the future, you're going to see us talk even more about it and let people know about what we're doing. But we've already got the wheels in motion, and there's some people that are out there that have played it. Can
you at least give us the ambiguous, we'll hear more soon?
That doesn't mean anything. Like, I mean, sure I can say that.
We'll hear more soon.
Yeah, we'll hear something within the next 5 years.
That's then I'll get the tweets of like, do you have an ETA?
Yeah.
Is there an ETA? Can you tell us when you're going to tell us something? No, that stuff's tricky. No, because I want people to manage expectations, right?
Okay.
We're taking our time and trying to get this right. Yes, there's going to be more opportunities to play, and we want a lot of people to touch this game as it's being built and give us feedback and have a really, really tight, close relationship with fans.
Okay. So we have 2 more community questions, and then we're going to pretty much wrap up. We might do small Q&A with the chat.
These are probably easy ones too.
Okay.
What are your opinions of Epic releasing a new Unreal tournament for the next-gen consoles? Is it possible with Unreal Engine 4?
Future news to talk about. You knew that one. I wasn't going to answer that one.
And I imagine the same on this one. Does Epic have any plans on bringing the awesome Gears of War series to the PlayStation 4?
Yeah, sorry, I can't. As much as I'd love to come in here and do the Epic reveal for you guys tonight, I don't think that's something that's going to happen.
So you're saying you can't do the reveal with us, but you can do it some other? Is that semi?
Maybe. Yeah.
Got him.
Yeah.
So we were here something about something. Not here.
I'm not the one that is probably going to be revealing anything.
Right.
Not in this format. Obviously, at some point, we will talk about things that we're doing in the future. Just not ready quite yet.
Okay. I think the last question to kind of ask this is that that was okay from us. Will Epic be at E3?
Don't they have a booth confirmed?
I feel like you just asked me the same question in a different way.
No, I didn't. I said, "Will Epic be at E3? Are you going to be there?"
I won't be there. There's always people from Epic. There's always people from Epic at E3 because we have the engine business.
Engine, right?
And people, yes, and so there's always going to be people there, regardless of what the scale of what we're doing is. So.
Okay. So it's like it could be like you guys are showing off. I don't know, Breakthrough or something like that. I'm just. Will you guys be there as just like a present?
I can say this: it's confirmed 100% on E3's website that they're in booth MR501A, which could very well just be an office for them to talk to people in.
There you go. Thank you. You confirmed it for me because I didn't check the list.
Someone
yet.
will actually be at the at the event. That's all we can say. Someone paid to have a booth. There we go.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else that is really popping out to me to kind of ask you tonight, Will, since we have you here. Obviously, I think we pretty much got the summation of. Again, I kind of avoided some questions that are just outright nasty because you know how people are on the internet. But I feel like I'm pretty satisfied with the Gears of War information on Judgment. I think I will ask, how do you like the new game type, Breakthrough?
I haven't spent as much time with it as I would like. I think Jim kind of mentioned in the stream last week about how it's sort of evolved. So I haven't played it in the state that it's probably in right now. So I'm trying to get some time this week to play it a little bit more. But look, people were looking for a single objective game type. It was probably more CTF-like when I first looked at it and played it, and so it's changed some. And so, yeah, I guess I'm really not sure. I need to spend a little bit more time with it.
Okay.
And I could give you a better answer. But yeah, I'm glad that we're getting another game type. I think, Master of Arms is a lot of fun, but I think people also for sure were looking for something that was team-based, with an objective. So.
Objective, right. Okay, well,
I have a question.
I'm sorry it's not a bomb game type.
That's
that was my question. Damn it! You just took my question. That's
why no bomb game type. We obviously want that really badly, but I know some of the
So I mean, I think that I don't know. You know, I think that it's one of those things where there was a plan, and it was certainly too late to change the plan. I think we tried to modify the plan to something that was more along the lines of what people wanted to see, and so hopefully the game mode is received in that spirit. But it's not a bomb game type. So hopefully it's close enough to make you enjoy it.
We'll see. I'll be very critical. Very
I know
critical.
You will. I know you will. I know it.
So that's it. I mean, that pretty much wraps up all the questions that we have. This was pretty much an hour of Will on for us, and an hour of the Xbox reveal. We got a 2-hour show. I do want to finish up with a couple questions. And I mean a very small amount of questions from the stream today. I'm sorry I haven't been able to really pay attention to the chat. I wanted to make sure we did this format very proper and correct.
I've been watching. I think most of the questions have answered, or it's stuff that Rack couldn't possibly answer.
Okay.
Real small design decisions.
Questions somebody smarter than me has to answer.
Arctic doesn't lie. I'm sorry, Fox. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but that's why that's why we do the weekly stream, right? Because like, there's like a degree of knowledge there that those guys are gonna have that I'm not gonna have, and so I try to help facilitate that every week. And if people have burning questions, about like super granular detail stuff, for sure ask them there because we will answer them.
Let me see. When is there going to be an Overrun update? I felt like we kind of touched on Overrun, but is there, if there ever will be, I mean, you probably can't answer this, will there be an Overrun update? That is from Golder Pepper.
Yeah, so I mean that's a really general. I mean, I guess if they're talking about content, right? We're not talking about future content. If they're talking about things that are like server side, like change to weapon balance and things like that, I mean that stuff's ongoing. I think that we don't. It's interesting because we don't receive as much feedback in that vein on Overrun as we do in standard multiplayer type, despite the fact that Overrun is the second most played game type in Judgment.
Yeah, I don't think it's the vocal forum people that are playing it necessarily.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely people on the forums that do play it, but no, I agree. It seems to be a different audience, and so. But for sure, look, if you've got suggestions or think that there's something that needs to be improved upon, let us know. We can.
I will say, in the meeting that we had about Overrun, I looked Quinn in the eye and said, "Listen, this game type is not for us. We are not going to be the people that are going to play this game type." And he's like, "What? No, you guys are gonna." No way, it's so competitive. I'm like, listen to me. It is competitive, but the pro player community will not embrace this. I was like,
right.
It's just not the same audience. I got a good question from Chrome Evolved. As community manager, who represents the Gears community? I think he means the audience. Okay. How would you explain the community demeanor, and who is your audience? That's a very good question.
The community demeanor. Like it in general?
I think so. That is a very general question.
I blame Pete Nub. It's all on Pete Nub.
Yeah, Kappa.
Right. Well, I mean, I think the core Gear audience is like super passionate, right? Like, I mean, if there's like one word to describe the demeanor of Gears fans, like that's it. And so it's like everything that you could possibly say about the game is amplified because it's like. The things that people really love, like they tell us how much they love it, and the things that they really don't like, we get it, just as bad. But that, to me, that's why it's a lot of fun to work on, right? Because it's like people like really, really genuinely care and really have a lot invested into this. And it's interesting. It's like the same people. I mean, you keep reference how some of the comments are phrased, or if maybe some of them are not phrased in like a super clean or nice way or whatever. It's like that stuff doesn't really bother me that much because it's like the same people that ask those kind of questions or make those kind of comments are like the same people that probably have a Crimson Omen tattoo. You know what I mean? And
that's
so
true.
It's like, man, it's like you can say whatever you want to me if you got a Crimson Omen tattoo, pretty much, right? Like you've you've earned it. So like that kind of stuff doesn't really bother me. But yeah, I mean, I think it's passion. Like that's what really comes through in the Gears community, is how much people care about everything. I think it's also like really diverse community in terms of like how people interact with the game. So I mean, you talked about like some of the art, and just some of the talent that people have. Like if you threw that into like and divided it into like different buckets, you know, there's like so many different things that people are doing, whether it's like fan art, there's like fan fiction that people write, there's cosplay stuff, there's the competitive, you know, side of things. There's people that, you know, just stream and do events for fun. There's a lot of people that like regularly are doing like charity events. So I think that's what's cool about it, is there's like a lot of avenues into the game, and a lot of them really are created by fans.
All right, so that was Chrome Devolve's question. One more, very last question. We'll sign off on that, and I'm looking for one that has not already been answered.
Are you sure Colin doesn't want to ask me 4 questions?
4 questions, and then summarize it with one?
Yeah.
There's be 4 versions of the bomb game type question.
That's a pretty good question, but I don't want to go there because you guys probably have that information already.
I know the answer to almost all these. That's the issue.
Yeah, I know.
Will there be a Gears 4? Like,
not touching on that one.
Kakashi aiming system. This is kind of, I don't know if this is something that you would be able to answer outright, or if this is like a combination of you, Jim, and Pete.
It's really a Pete question.
It sounds like a Pete question.
It's definitely a Pete question, and I know that Kakashi is very, very interested in that, because like he's been very vocal about it on the forums. Come to the stream Thursday, man. We'll have Pete answer whatever question you have about it. I mean, the question you asked about the aiming system in the chat is pretty broad. Like I would definitely break that down into something a bit more specific. Because I mean, just saying like, will it ever be fixed? I mean, that's.
I assume he's talking about some of the videos that have kind of surfaced of issues where shots don't register, they hit kind of weird spots and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, we can, if you got the videos, send them to us. We can talk about specific stuff in there. I think Pete already has like, he's addressed certain things. Like there were some people that are wondering, like, because Nasher is center screen now, like why does somebody get bodied even if you know, even if they're it's like happens a lot of time on like corners, like where the center screen is like not on them, but if literally the barrel is like buried inside of their cone, like they still get bodied. And so like there's some things like that are probably do require or merit some further discussion and explanation, because we at least want to make sure that like somebody doesn't think that something is working as intended when it is.
Because he's kind of spamming. I'm trying to see if there's anything else.
Oh, hype?
If not. No, yeah.
Tournaments, yeah.
Freak or what? Yeah, what other tournaments? That's Hype Festation. I'd rather have Arctic and Epic than... No, I'm not going to read the rest of that. Well, pre-order characters... Yeah.
You said one more question, now you're asking for more questions.
We let Arctic come inside Epic. He can't.
It's been a little over 2 hours. We need to wrap it up.
We need to wrap it up. All right. So, I can't see anything that's really popping out to me. I do want to thank you, Will. You are the very first game dev personality that we've had on, and that's been in the industry, knows ins and outs, and you work for a studio that obviously our fan base is very passionate about. Mm-hmm. And I really want to thank you. I appreciate it very much. Hope to possibly get you, Jim, or Pete on here in the future again, so we can talk some more Gears, maybe post launch or post DLC, and talk about some things.
Yeah, I would love to do something that, especially to get the more granular questions answered, sort of stuff. I appreciate you guys having me on. Certainly appreciate everything that you guys do, and really genuinely appreciate like the stuff that we get called out on, too. From time to time. I mean, I think that example of the Ninja update was a really big moment for us, and it helps to have people you know, that care enough about it to really get that message out and you know, keep us honest and make sure that we're headed in the right direction. And I think it's going to help us out a lot, the fact that that we've sort of had that experience, and hopefully we're doing a lot more stuff like this. I'd love to come back on and maybe bring either Jim and Pete with me sometime.
That'd be sweet. So I hope everyone out there enjoyed the stream. You guys can tune in. I hope Kenny has Active Reload tomorrow, but we'll talk to more Gears tomorrow on Active Reload. But you guys can tune into the Epic Games stream. I put the link in the chat for you guys. Twitch.tv/Epic Games Inc.
Have to figure out something to talk about next week. I imagine we'll get more clarification on all the Microsoft misspeaks this week.
Yeah, probably
and we
will.
can do kind of a pre-E3 show?
Pre-E3 show? Yeah, that might be pretty good.
It's not too early, right? Like,
we can talk about my exploration into the fighting game scene. I now have Street Fighter 4. Yeah. But yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed the show. You guys can go to the Twitch TV Epic Game stream. Follow that. Follow our stream. Rack, you guys do that every week on Thursday at
Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern.
5 p.m. Eastern. Okay. So that pretty much this show in a nutshell. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Very long show. A lot to talk about. I want to thank everyone for coming out. And thank you again, Will. We're signing off. Adios.